Hi guys, so we're back now and we're in our packaging class. Here we're going to have a look at how we can package our project into a game or executable file that we can send to our customer. And this is what you want to be doing when you finish your project. Once you've developed the lighting, the modeling, the animations, just as you want it, and then you can ship it across to your client or whoever you want to send it to. So let's have a look at how we can do that in the best way in Unreal Engine 5. It's really simple. Just come up here, okay? And we can see the number of different types of platforms that we can package our game for. There's loads. For Android, you can get it for, export it for a phone, iOS devices, even PlayStation as well. Several different platforms. So it all depends, of course, on your target device, where you want to be sending it to. For example, you'll be able to run this project, the Piano House, on mobile phone. Yes, that's true. PlayStation as well, as we said, but also, of course, on Windows platforms, on a PC. So you then can send this project to another client who has a PC, as an example, so they can run it as an executable program. So to do so, we need to start going through the project settings and configure it so it's ready for packaging. So let's do that together now. So let's go up here to project settings. Okay, and there are a number of things that you can change and update in here. Lots of really cool features. So let's go through some of them. You can clearly see here, you can adjust the description of your project. We've got Piano House. You can change the name of the project here as well. So that will be the name of the project as the client sees it when they open up the file. Okay, so you can type in whatever you want in there. I think we'll keep it Piano House. Okay, underneath you can choose the type of version that you want to be using. Over here you can choose a project thumbnail. So that's the image that's going to show up with the game or your experience. Choose your company name and your website. Personalize it basically. So you can also adjust the licensing terms as well. So all of this area is basically for your personal data. It's quite important that you just go through this and familiarize yourself with what you need to complete in there. Under maps and modes, we have here the different types of maps that we want to load up at the beginning. So when we start in the editor, we can choose the map that we want to show up first. And then when we start the actual experience, we can choose which game mode which map we want to start initially. So what we can do here is we can click and drag the map that we want to use into this slot. Okay. So the map that we want to show up initially, or you can click the drop down and pick it from the list. So we'll just pull this. Okay. So that's the map that we want to use to start the game itself. And you can do the same for the editor as well. And do you remember when we went to Windows and under levels, we added the different levels here, like Piano House Grass and this as a sub level? So by choosing the streaming mode as always loaded, that means it's going to always come in when we choose the main level. Okay, so as long as it's there with the sub levels, then it will come in. So we just need to choose the main persistent level and drag that into the game editor section. The same is true, of course, even if it's loaded via Blueprint. As long as you just choose the persistent level, put that into game default map. Just something to be aware of though, something that I encountered when you are exporting your project to a certain platform. Sometimes you may find you get a pop-up that asks you to have certain add-ons installed. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. Under Windows Package Project here, I found I was getting a message like this. So it's warning me that the SDK for Windows is not installed properly. Okay, so you just need to make sure that it is installed correctly. So you'll need to get that done before you're able to package properly. And you can just follow the instructions here on how to do that. So I'm going to create a folder here on the desktop for UE5. Okay, and I'm going to select that folder, and you see here it starts packing it, and it's moving quite quickly. And you can see here in the output log what it's doing. It's going through a whole series of different steps to package our project for us. Okay, and once it's done, then you can open the folder, and the folder we saved here, that's where it will appear when it's finished. Okay, obviously it's not there yet because it's not been completed. And with regard to those files, the add-ons, you do need to make sure that they are installed first of all. Okay, so first thing that we'll do is we'll close Unreal, and then we'll go and get those add-ons installed. So let's access Google, and we'll just search for Windows SDK. Okay, and it'll bring up several sites, and this one we'll look at, which is developermicrosoft.com. Okay, so if you get that under your search results, just click on it. And this is how we can get the right files that we need. Just make sure you're in your right, you got the right language as well for your country. You should get this link here, download the installer. Okay, so then you just need to choose your save location. I'm going to save it to the desktop and the courses. I'm going to create a folder called developers. Okay. And then save and run. Okay, so that should run that. Just give it a bit of time. And just follow the instructions on screen, okay? So specify the location. We'll leave it as default. Go next. And then click accept. And then install. Okay, so we just wait for that to install. Cool. So that's quite straightforward, isn't it, really? And there we go. It's installed. Okay. And that should have given us all we need, our SDK from our developer. We can close that. And now let's take a look we need net.core 3.1, which is also from Microsoft. Okay. And we can just go to this link here, download.net. Okay. And that should give us the 3.1 version, 64-bit version of Windows. Save it on the desktop as well, and we'll just wait for the download. Now you may find you don't need to do this, but that's something that I was encountering. So these are the steps that I needed to go through to get it all sorted. So I'm just going to install that. And once that's done, there we go. We can close that. Cool. Okay, so after installing these two resources, you should be done. And you wouldn't need to do it every time, just the once, okay? And then you'll be able to successfully package your projects. It might be that you might find you need to install these on your first instance of trying to package a game. So it may be the case that everyone needs to do this. But just in case you'd find yourself in my situation, at least now you know exactly what to do. So one last thing we need to do is access the C programs files folder, okay, and just copy the things across. So the things we just installed. So for me, we need to go to Engine 5 and binary third.net, Windows host, Windows, here we go, host, FXR, and then 3.1.9, okay, which is what we just installed. And then we need to copy this file. So that's Control and C. Once you've done that, then go back under binaries.net, automatic tools, and then right click and paste, okay? You paste the DLL file here. Now, there's one last developer kit that we need to install. And if this is your first time trying to package a product, you may find you need this, which is Visual Studio 2022. And you get that from Microsoft. You can download via this link here, the Visual Studio website. So let's use the community version of 2022. And we'll just find a place to save it. We'll just download it here. Okay. And then let's run it. So just give it a bit of time. There we go. So here on the screen, we're being shown the different resources from Visual Studio, and we can pick what we need, right? So what we need is desktop, development, or this one here, development for C++. Okay, and game development as well. All right, so these are the components for Visual Studio that we need. Then we can click on install. And now you just need to wait for the download and the installation to complete. And then we'll be back soon, okay? So after the installation, we should be good to go. You may have had to restart your computer a few times, but then we can go in here and open up a project now that we have all of the developer resources ready. So let's open up our project and then move on to the next step. Okay, so we just follow the same steps we tried doing initially, and here we can follow the same output log of the project as it's packaging, so we become familiar with what it's actually doing. So if there is a problem, if there's any errors, you'll be able to see them, okay? In this output log, normally any errors or warnings, any warnings show up in yellow and any errors show up in red, okay? Sometimes, you might get a warning maybe that your file names are too long, or maybe the folder path where you want to save the project is too long. Maybe some files are missing. So just be aware of that, okay? It's always good to just become familiar as best we can with what it is actually doing in this log, so that we can fix any problems, but also that we can make sure that we understand what it's doing in the packaging. And that's no doubt going to help us in our understanding of packaging projects. It's good to keep an eye on this as well, just to see that everything is going well. All right, no surprises. So I tend to keep it open whilst packaging is being done. Okay, cool. So the packaging has finished. It didn't take too long, but as we can see here, there are some issues. And this is good because we can see these things together, okay? So when we were packaging the project, we did say that sometimes you get warnings and sometimes you get errors in different colors, okay? So when we have a look through our log here, you can see that most of the processes are in white. There are some yellow warnings, and then we get some red errors as well, okay? So let's talk about how we can proceed from here, okay? This is telling us that there's an issue here with the blueprints, all right? It looks like it's to do with the rifle of our scene. Do you remember in the blueprint class, we tried to remove the rifle, didn't we? Because we didn't want to use it. We don't need our ArcViz character to be carrying around a gun in the scene, do we? So we deleted the rifle. But to solve this problem, let's type in rifle. Here we go. So we're going to get the rifle from our blueprint, and we're going to try and solve this programming problem in the simplest way, okay? So let's have a look at another example. Down here at the bottom, it seems like there's a packaging problem here. Version file 1.2. Okay, so it's trying to package with an unsupported version. Now, Unreal Engine uses 1.1 of this file, and it comes with the Visual Studio development tools. Okay, so that's what that message is telling us there. So let's access Visual Studio. So I'm just going to pull it open from here under where I installed it. There we go. Okay, let's just try again. Yes. Okay, so we're just downloading Visual Studio again here, the 2022 version, and it downloads the most current version of that 1.2 file. Okay, but this is the file we need to modify because it needs 1.1. Okay, so under these individual components, you can see that you can specify what you want to add, which you want to uninstall as well. So let's just remove this one. And now let's search for these components here. Okay, so what are the previous versions? Which previous versions could we use? Well, the previous version of that file that's giving us that problem when we're packaging is up here. So we need to download an earlier version. Okay, let's click on that and then let's click on modify, and then we'll wait for the download to install. There we go, that's okay. And then we'll come back when it's finished. Okay, there we go. So we're there. So that's done. We can close Visual Studio now. And we can go back to our project in Unreal. So I'll just find that. And there we go. In Unreal Engine 5 course files, Piano House. Oh, and in this intermediate folder, let's just delete these folders here. Okay, so it's got no history of the previous version that we installed, the previous component. Okay, and we can safely delete just the intermediate folder, and let's open it up. It's kind of like keeping our history. Okay, it gets, as you can see here, it's to create another one, right? So it's going to keep a track of what's being saved. So that's nothing to worry about for us. We can let that be created. And now hopefully we should be using version 1.2 of Visual Studio now that we've downloaded it. Okay. So it's just going to take a bit of time to recreate and discover our asset data as it's shown here at the bottom. But now looks like that's done. So we can open our level, which is our main level. Cool. And then we can go back through the steps of packaging it again. And hopefully we would have fixed that. But before we do that, let's type in rifle, because that was the other issue we had, wasn't it? The other warning that was in our output log. So let's go into our rifle blueprint. This should be a quick fix, this one. So as you can see in the bottom compiler results, we're getting some errors here, aren't we? Okay, so what are these errors? Well, maybe you remember in the blueprint class that we detached the rifle, didn't we? Because we didn't want to use it within the actual scene. So we just need to select it and we need to set it as invisible. Okay, so let's just go to the event graph. We want to make sure that it's not running and it's not in the scene. So what's happening is the asset is not in the scene, but the blueprint is running it. And it's actually running it all the time. It can't find it, okay? And it's causing this error. You see this here? So basically it hasn't been detached and removed properly. So we can simply press the Alt key here, which just detaches it. So that will stop that running. And then it should help everywhere else not try to find the rifle. Let me just double check. Oh, okay, so it's running here as well, right? So we detach that because that's for the animation of the first person so they can shoot. Let's compile now, and those errors are gone. Cool. So it's not going to keep trying to find the rifle, even though we've made it invisible. So that should have fixed that. Now we can go to package our project, and hopefully this time it's going to work, because we hopefully should have solved those two issues. So remember what they were? We installed the correct version of Visual Studios, and we went to the previous version, didn't we? 1.1, which is what was what the compatible version was. And we also checked the other error, and we deleted the rifle properly. So just go through your output log. Just become familiar with what it's saying it's doing. The better we understand it, the better we're able to fix things. So let's just wait until this packaging is completed, and then we'll be back soon. Great, so we're back, and let's just scroll through. Now there are some warnings, but there are no red errors, are they? And at the bottom you can see it said build successful. Cool. And this was done using the previous version of Visual Studio. So that's all good. That's what we want to see. So let's save everything, and then let's go back to the desktop where our package project was saved. And what you need to do now is just go to the file under game, and then Windows. And this file at the bottom here is our executable file. Okay. All these other folders here, all these other files, we need to keep within the folder for it to run the game. Okay. So we can close Unreal itself, but as long as the folder maintains this directory, we can open up the file at the bottom, our application, and it will run just like a game. So we can open this now, and it will start just as we set it up. Nice. So now we can play through our project, just like a computer game, right? And it doesn't need to have the engine. So this is exactly how it would be for a client that you send it to. So it's good for you to be able to test it on your machine just before you send it off as well, right? Test all the functionality, and it should be working. But it's good just to double check before we send it out. So we can change the sofa nicely. Cool, that's working. I do like that. And visually, it looks really cool, doesn't it? Okay, let's just check a bit more navigation. Nice. Okay. Cool. So just use that opportunity before you send it off, just to double check things. Okay. Alt and F4 is how you exit the game, as a shortcut as well, if you didn't know. But obviously, if you've got the exit button on your menu, use that too. Then don't forget to zip up your project, as I'm doing here, and send a zip file version to your client, just so it compresses it a bit better for them. Good stuff. And look, mine's just over 2 gig. So that's good. That should be straightforward to send, maybe via Google Drive, WeTransfer, anything like that. Okay. Okay, so here's where we're going to end the class. We talked about packaging the project. Yes, it might be a little bit more complicated. It might be a bit more technical, but hopefully we've gone over some of the issues that you may find and how to resolve them, what components you need to install, like developer tools you need, how it's important to keep your eye on the output log when packaging your project. Become familiar with the messages that it's telling you, so that if you do get any warnings or errors, then you can fix them. And also, as we mentioned, try not to have a long file path when you choose your destination for packaging. Try and keep it short so it doesn't take so long, or it doesn't have the possibility of it getting lost or files going missing. So keep your file path short. Maybe just export it or package it to the desktop within a folder. Okay, so there we go. So hopefully that's helped you understand the whole packaging process and how you can package your project for your client to use on their computer in real time. And one other thing, try and keep in mind the graphics card that you've created the project on, because you don't want to make your client frustrated in the fact that they can't run it on their machine. Okay, so if you're making it so that it runs perfectly on your machine, well, just think, what machine is my client going to have? What graphics card or ability? So just keep an eye on that, okay? And keep an eye on your frames per second so that it's running steadily and it's not lagging behind, okay? We'll talk about a few more things in the upcoming classes, okay? And how we can take it to the next step, all right? So personally, I'll probably take this project a little bit further. I might jump back into Unreal, do a bit more work on the environment, on the office, on the blueprints, and just furnish it up a little bit more. But what I will do is I'll leave the finished version available for you in this course, so you can download it and take a look. And hopefully you'll be able to see it on your own computer as well. All right, and then you'll be able to see how it turned out. Cool. All right, so thanks for following along in this class. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.